today, okay guys, we're gonna be exploring authenticity, what it is, why it's important, or why should we even care about it, and even more importantly, how we can be less fake and more real, right? So before I do that, I want to start with our let's do our gratitude practice, right? So this is a very short, very easy way that is scientifically shown to boost the positive emotions we feel in life, which boosts our well-being. So we do it by answering a series of questions here, and you can do them in chat, you can do them on your own, you can totally ignore me completely, it's all up to you. The first question is, of course, what was the best thing that happened to you yesterday? What is it? What is Hammer Time by Popski from? It does sound like Tron. I like it. Okay, so the best thing that happened to me yesterday. Yesterday was Thursday. Oh my god, I have no idea what happened to me yesterday. The best thing is not that I forgot my day. Oh my gosh. Oh, yeah! I found the fishes in my pond. I thought they were all dead. They are not. They are alive, and that was fantastic. So that is the best thing that happened to me yesterday. Next question is, what are 3 things that you are grateful for right now? Right now, you guys. 3 things you're grateful for right now. Alive till July, that is. You shush. When your kids come out and kill them all, yeah, that might happen. Don't curse my fish! No! Nothing? You're not grateful for anything right now? Well, so I'm grateful that you're here. That is genuine. That's exciting to me. I'm grateful that I've already gotten a ton done today. That feels good. I am grateful that I have a way to get my hair off of my back, this little claw thingy. So the thing about gratitude is, is that you don't have to believe what you're saying in order to benefit from the practice. And you don't have to, eventually you get to a point where, as you're, listing the things you're grateful for, and I usually go well beyond 3, and I just keep going. I just do, a laundry list, and I spend, I don't know, maybe tops a minute doing it. Eventually, you do actually feel, positive emotions, and that's awesome. But you don't need to feel the emotions to benefit from the practice. That's what the research has revealed. And the practice actually grows that, those feelings like a muscle. So over time, you feel them stronger and stronger and stronger. Yeah, so you can just, Dos Meeps, you can just list stuff, and it can feel like total bullcrap to you. And just keep going. That is the practice. Love it. Bringing them on in, guys. Yes, you're sharing. Oh, pizza, nom nom. I want some. Share. Share with me. Okay. So, what 3 things would make today great? What 3 things would make today great? And the idea is to choose things that you have control over. That's a tricky way of, okay, so I would not put on the should. I would so maybe do it this way. If you were a kid, right? At that stage in life where everything is just kind of wonderful, what would you be grateful for right now? So if I was a kid, I'd be grateful for the colors behind me, right? And I would be grateful for the puppies in that corner right there. And I'd be grateful for the fact that I feel laughing. So, right? That might, those aren't things I should necessarily, there's no should or shouldn't with gratitude. It's just things that you think you might be grateful for, and then just list them, without without any sort of judgment. You just don't have to believe it. You don't have to believe, I don't have to believe that I'm grateful for the puppies to say that I'm grateful for the puppies, for this practice to work. Yes. Oh, flight not being delayed for the 3rd time. What? Mrs. Scott! You're about to go on your whirlwind trip. I hope you have fun. So, okay, 3 things that would make today great. Okay, I always say this, but like doing this stream, like I could have checked out and like, you know, freaked out and like lost my courage. So I'm super, like that's made today great and I was in control of it. Surrounded by a drunk family. Oh, that's only fun. I mean, can you imagine if they weren't drunk? Come on. Family with no buffer? I don't know. Yeah, so I want to get on the floor and get tackled by a bunch of dogs, so that's gonna happen. And I don't know. Drink a soda. That would make today great. All right, guys. Last bit, just to kind of like put a bow on it, is what's your intention for the day? And this is like really simple. It's just what do you want to like set as something that you keep in your awareness. So for me, it's I am slowing down. Because I did not remember yesterday at all. So I need to take more time to be present. I intend to be positive. Nice, Mr. Scott. I feel like we could have like a little like tip, like, you know, like the tip jar thing, but like have your little emote, and then for everything positive you say like things go in it, and everything negative you say things go out of it, and we'll see if you're full or empty by the end of the day. All right, you guys are awesome. So I would like to just get right into it, and we'll do our meditation power up after the educational deep dive exploration. So today, like I said, it's all about authenticity, what it is, why should we care about it, and like what we can do to be more authentic or to hide who we are a little bit less. So I would love to start by hearing from you guys what you guys, like, what does authenticity mean to you? Because this is one of those, like, kind of catch-all phrases, right? That could mean absolutely anything. And what it means to you is important. Hi, Exie! Welcome! Well done again, Exie, on your Speaking Truth to Power. That was a lot of work, and like, you made me feel like our voice matters, so thank you. It was really cool. Yeah, I wonder. Ah, okay, yeah, authenticity for Mr. Scott. Yeah, it does absolutely have a bit of trustworthiness. Right? Like if you're representing yourself truthfully, you know, people are going to believe you. Yeah. No, I am the only one. I'm the only one right now. Hey, Mr. Scott, are you a life coach? Life coach crusher. No, Mr. Scott's awesome because he, like, balances out my, like, bubbly optimism. And I need help. I need balance. For sure. Ah, Exie. So what I love about that is, like, yes, like the opposite of BS, but it's internal BS too. So there's something about authenticity where it requires us to know what's going on internally with us, like what we're thinking, what we're feeling, and we can't, it's like we can't be on autopilot. So we have to have awareness. Yeah. Which is why, like Mr. Scott's saying, there's trustworthiness to it, right? Because you're not fronting, you're not full of BS. Yeah. For me, the way I've come to define authenticity is that it's genuine self-expression, fearlessly made public. Genuine self-expression, fearlessly made public. So it's that idea that there's some sort of truth about who you are. So there's like this genuineness to it. So that internal state, right, is in alignment. Then there's a part where authenticity doesn't exist in a vacuum. Like, we are social creatures. So it has to like be shared, right? So there's that self-expression and that idea of it being in the public. And I think when I say fearlessly, I don't mean like without fear. I just mean courageously. So maybe I should say it's genuine self-expression courageously made public. It just doesn't sound as cool. But yeah, like, this is an act of courage. It requires vulnerability. It's like we're opening up ourselves and being like, hey, do you like me? And there's this part to authenticity where the more authentic you are, the less likely it is that everybody's gonna like you, right? Because you're actually being who you are. So it's risky. It's really risky. Of course, Dos Meeps. Yeah. Do you stream? Exy. Hey, yay! Hello, Nazahi. That's awesome. You've got the shield. That makes me happy. Hi, it's good to see you again. Okay. Yeah, Dos Meeps, you can email me. Just do punchlifeback@thematrixguard.com. Well, yeah. I haven't seen you yet today, have I? No, if you did chat, I've missed it. Oh, yeah, so it's good to see you. That's all I mean. So yeah, so authenticity is this. So this is like what I've gotten from like kind of the body of literature that I've found on authenticity, right? So take it with a grain of salt, as always. But authenticity it's a process of becoming more and more uniquely yourself, and like sharing it honestly, genuinely with the world. It rather than like a destination you land on or you get to. It's not an event, it's not a milestone. It's not like this penultimate accomplishment. It's this process of becoming. And it's so perfection is not at all applicable. Do I think anger can be creative? Yeah, for sure. There, like any emotion, there's like an upside and a downside, right? So we're all really familiar with the downsides to anger. It can be, hurtful or destructive to relationships. Like if we lash out with physical violence, right? There's all kinds of things that can get us in trouble. But there are like strengths to anger too. It tells you like what you're passionate about. It like, oh my gosh, right? Like it reminds you, hey, wee! I'm distracted. I get distracted so easily. Yes, that's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, so, but it tells, anger is a really good clue about what you give a crap about and what's really important to you. And there's this, like, there is a creative force to that. Like, you can't, it's like a very powerful, you can't deny it kind of creative force, I think. Yeah. And our emotions are a very important part of our authenticity, right? So, like, if you're feeling angry because some sort of right that you hold has been violated. And so if you can get to the core of what you're thinking around that's triggering that anger, you're gonna find something that is really important to you, that's really crucial to your authenticity. So it's all of it's totally interconnected. Oh yes. Gosh, Terry Pratchett. What is it? What is the series? Nom 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 nom. What is it? What is it? Yes. Discworld. I have not read Discworld, and I know Terry Pratchett. I'm writing that down. I'm writing it down. Yeah, anger is one of those things that I think is undervalued. We need to be strategic with it, ideally. But, cool. I'm gonna read it. Once I'm done with The Witcher, I'm gonna read it. Oh, that is all good. Totally. Absolutely, Scott. Yeah, anger can also be used to, mask other emotions, too. Sometimes it's easier to feel angry than it is to feel hurt, so we just go to anger. Yeah. Okay, so authenticity is this process, right? There's no end destination. So there's nothing that can be perfected, and authenticity exists in degrees. It exists really only in the present moment. So it's this messy, ever-shifting, evolving thing that we get to experience and exercise control over and choose to engage with or not. So we really are, guys, the authenticity, or the authors of our authenticity. And so much in life that matters, we alone are responsible for it. So it's we learn and practice expressing our uniqueness, our truth, and we live in alignment with who we are, or we don't. And we tend to experience more sustained or longer lasting well-being and flourishing when we're able to live authentically. There's real suffering that exists when we're out of alignment with what we really feel, think, and believe. And we really can feel that, right? I'm sure we've all experienced these moments where we're misrepresenting ourselves in the biggest of ways, and it doesn't usually feel good. But we can use that as a powerful indication of when, it's that big red flag. Oh, I know this emotion. I'm out of alignment. How am I lying? What am I what am I ignoring about myself that I really want to listen to, and I'll feel better once I do. So the uncomfortable emotions can help us. It's about being brave and risking disfavor. So I very much have struggled with people pleasing. I will put other people above, before myself, and not take care of my needs. And I've gotten so much better at it. But it has definitely been a big challenge for me. And I actually started getting super excited when people started disliking me. Right? Which is okay, weirdo. But no, I went through life with everybody liking me because I was just nice. I would always, I was just people pleasing all the time. But by stopping that and still, respecting people, but making sure that I'm being true about who I am and what I need and what I want, more people started to dislike me, and that became a win, and it became proof that I was living more authentically. And there's this thing about okay, science has shown that, or research has shown that, relationships are incredibly important to our well-being. And they're one of the most important things that we can develop in order to boost and solidify our resilience, so that when we experience a really hard time, our relationships can help us do that. So here's the thing, and we all in some core part of ourselves just want to be loved, and we want to belong. That is human nature. We are hardwired to be that way. We are social animals, right? So in order to be loved, okay, let me put it this way. When I was just being the version of myself that's people pleasing all the time, there's a truth to the fact that I wasn't actually loved, because nobody saw who I really was. And it wasn't until I got real, risked that disfavor and rejection, that happened and happens. But what I got in return is people who actually accepted me, saw me for who I really was and accepted me and loved me. And that that is the relationship that sustains well-being. So, yeah. Confucius is right after all. Oh my gosh. And existential nihilism. I'm glad I'm ignoring that. I don't know what to do with it, Exy. Yes. Oh, we could talk so much about nihilism. And I would just like to listen. Yes. Oh, yeah. Okay, so... So part of, I think, accurately representing, like, our inner reality authentically, part of that means coming to terms with how inauthentic we are and will always be. Because it is this imperfectible process. It's this constant reevaluation in the moment of that twinge that says, ooh, you're not being yourself, and then the opportunity to readjust and be more authentic. So it's messy. It's messy, and we're never gonna be excellent, like really like perfect at it, right? And like Mr. Scott was bringing up earlier, don't think about it. Like he was bringing up earlier, yeah, it is. Honesty is a huge component to authenticity. And honesty is one of those character strengths we've talked about that has a lot of research behind it. And what they found about honesty is that it does indeed build trustworthiness and contributes to those healthy relationships that are so essential to our well-being and our resilience. Honesty also has been shown to be linked to increasing the accuracy of our goal setting, because all of a sudden we're actually setting goals based on what we really value and what really interests us. And that boosts your well-being because you're more likely to sustain the effort of the goal because you actually care, you really honestly care about it. You know, be more consistent over time, and all those things are important to goal achievement. So yeah. There is a dark side to honesty. So it does indeed matter how truths are delivered, because like this so my father-in-law at like I don't know, I feel like it was like, oh, okay, Exy, have a good time, thank you for coming by. I don't know, it was like his, like after, it seems like after like a midlife crisis or like a birthday or something, he was like, all right guys, I'm done being dishonest. I'm just gonna say the truth as it comes to me, and honesty is a virtue, you just have to deal with it. So like yeah, that did not go well for him, right? Like he just like kind of like unfiltered said stuff as he saw it, and that did not strengthen the relationships, right? It caused like a lot of her emotions and strength, like and all that kind of stuff. And he figured out and adjusted, and it was all good. But the point is that depending on how we deliver our truths, they can land softly and with empathy and be received well, or they can, exactly, SS, totally, it can hurt more than the meanest lie. Yeah, they could land with blame, like anger, judgment, like all of that painful stuff. So, but the dark side to honesty isn't so much a problem with honesty itself. It's about communication finesse. It's a lack of communication skills, right? So, if your truths tend to hurt other people, or like negatively affect your relationships, it just means that there's opportunity to practice some communication skills and get a little bit more strategic with it. One of the skills that just came to my mind that could help is like nonviolent communication. But there's all kinds. So that's my little like side blurb about the dark side to honesty that I felt compelled to share. So for the Matrix Guard, authenticity is a huge part of our mission. We believe that the world needs creative and innovative solutions. Like there's all kinds of things like right now that are not working for us, right? And it's really easy for me to get lost in like this hopelessness when I see things like global warming or, you know, like just mass violence and all that kind of stuff that like is in the news all the time. But that's only like the half of the story, right? Like we actually there is the potential to change things, make them for the better, save the world through creative and innovative solutions. But we're only going to get them to the extent that that people own their authenticity, right? Because each of us is a unique combination of genes, environment, personality, core values, like our character strengths, right? All these things we've been talking about. And there will never, ever, ever, ever be another you capable of creating what you and you alone can create out of your uniqueness. And those are the creative and innovative solutions that the world so desperately needs. So for us, when we say like everybody's a hero and we're, you know, learning resilience to become unstoppable, it's what we really are talking about is living and creating authentically. That itself is a heroic endeavor. So, okay. Yeah. You've probably heard me say that a lot. But it's so important to us. And hopefully maybe you understand a little bit more what we mean with everyone's a hero. So I have a treat. There is, we're going to watch a short video of Leandria. And she did this, she wrote a poem that is just fantastic. And it's a real celebration of authenticity. And I just think the best way to, I don't know, just like really get into authenticity and understand it. So I just want to share it with you guys. So here we go. Let's do it.
It was 6:58 p.m. on Tuesday, October 26, 2010, when I realized I wanted to be myself. At that moment, I realized that I just couldn't be anyone else. You see, I get so caught up in these popularity contests that sometimes I forget the capacity of my own content, all the amazing that makes up who I am in my truth, the flaws that piece together my facial expressions and exude the sentimental youth of my being, calling to light the potency of my nature to laugh when something's funny or cry when something's sad, my nature to blissfully love and be okay with that. At 6:58 p.m. on Tuesday, October 26th, on 2010, I knew that I could no longer stand to be stood over, lost within this crowd of sameness and continued to be picked over. I realized at that moment I wanted to be different, set apart from the group the way my fathers intended. I knew at that moment I needed to speak out and take my turn, to let the world know that I do have a voice and it needs to be heard. But I'm not gonna lie. On that same Tuesday, October 26, 2010 at 6:58 p.m., I got a little nervous. Started wondering if this fight was even worth it. This fight to be unique and stay true to I. But at 6:59, I glanced at my phone and caught a glimpse of my eye. It twinkled. It was pretty. And I thought so out loud. I stared at my beauty till 7:03 and I instantly felt proud. I realized at that moment when I looked into my phone that the entire time I had been thinking, I had been doing it on my own, under the approval of no prom queen, the dictation of no queen bee, only under the desired will of Lee. And realizing that I had a mind, I knew that I was officially one of a kind. One to be recognized, emphasized, and accepted for the beauty I saw through my eyes. At 6:58 p.m., I knew. On Tuesday, October 26, 2010, I saw, and at 7:03, I became beauty in its most passionate form. The beholder of my destiny, walker of my own path. I realized at that moment I wanted everything I already had. I have my family, goals, and the ambition to see them through. How can I take advantage of what's mine if I'm too busy being you? So,
everyone's reaction, I love it.
At 6:58 p.m. on Tuesday, October 26, 2010, I knew that I could no longer stand to be anyone else. I would serve me no justice. And that's just what I felt. Thank you.
Yeah. So good. So good, right? Right? Man, I can watch that over. I have. Let's be honest. I have watched it over and over and over again. So yeah, I hope you liked it. I mean, it just captures authenticity in a nutshell. It's like, it's bold, it's iterative, it's messy, and it's true, right? And it's like, it's heroic. It's heroic. Yeah, okay, so I've got a handful of quotes on authenticity that I've pulled from like everywhere. And I love them all, so you're just gonna have to listen to them and enjoy. You're gonna enjoy it. So this is from, and I'm gonna butcher a lot of names, so forgivesies, pleasies. Jean-Jacques Rousseau. And 1712 to 1778, guys. So Jean-Jacques says that authenticity is derived from the natural self, whereas inauthenticity is a result of external influences. So I'm sure, so he's a philosopher, I'm sure natural self, like there's this whole tome of philosophy on it. But what I get just from the surface of this quote is that like authenticity comes from inside. Inauthenticity is that result of people pleasing, adjusting what you think or who you are in order to fit in, or like all those things, all of the external sources that inspire us to compromise who we are, right? So it's this internal compass. Jean-Paul Sartre, 1889 to 1976. Authenticity is a process of continual self-definition and requires taking full responsibility for your life. So, yeah, here we go, guys. It's this process of continual self-definition. It's never ending, which is the blessing and the curse in it, right? Like, you can't just set it and forget it. You can't just do it and be done. And it's this idea, again, about taking full responsibility. You know, we were talking about in our last couple episodes the meaning of life. And how is it that some people have meaning in their lives and some people don't? And it's really this idea of you create your meaning by taking responsibility for it. It's the same thing here. You create you either are in your authenticity or you're not. And it just depends on whether or not you're taking responsibility for it and choosing to do that continual self-definition process. My absolute favorite author is Anonymous. And Anonymous says that authenticity is harmony with your inner life. So there we go. Amy Poehler, you attract the right things when you have a sense of who you are. So that sounds a little bit like edging on like the law of attraction stuff, but certainly like when you're like what we do leads to our consequences, right? Like our actions lead to the consequences that we experience. So if we're acting inauthentically, we're gonna get inauthentic consequences, stuff we probably don't really want. Whereas if we're acting authentically, we're gonna be going towards things that we want in life. Yeah, so it seems like that's probably true. Henry David Thoreau, one of my absolute favorites, he says that we are constantly invited to be who we are. I love that. That's an inspiring way of saying, like, there's an opportunity here. And now, like, and again, in this present moment, and now in this present moment, and now in this present moment. How long could I do that before you all hated me? In this present moment. In this present moment. All right, okay. E.E. Cummings. It takes courage to grow up and become who you really are. Hell yeah, it does. Courage. Courage is everywhere. Anything that matters requires courage. It just does. Eckhart Tolle says, only the truth of who you are, if realized, will set you free. So it's not the truth that sets you free, it's the truth of who you are. If you realize it, if you take responsibility for it, that will set you free. And there is, like, I definitely, when I'm out of alignment with who I am, like, I don't feel free. My life doesn't work. It just sucks. My well-being goes, and I feel stuck. Oh, this is a good one. Charlie Chaplin, right? As I began to love myself, I found that anguish and emotional suffering are only warning signs that I was living my own truth. Today I know this as authenticity. What? Okay. As I began to love myself, I began to I found that anguish and emotional suffering are warning signs that he's being authentic. Right? Like, what? Okay, so this is not all like puppy dogs and baby donkeys. No. This I think is his version of me saying, hey, when you're really who you are, not everybody's gonna like you. You're gonna experience embarrassment. You're gonna experience rejection. And that's part of the necessary package of well-being. Being happy, experiencing a life of flourishing, none of that means you're invulnerable. It doesn't mean that you're gonna have a life free from suffering. It means that as you suffer, you still have well-being. Yeah. That's the bad news. Good news, bad news. So William James says, seek out that particular mental attribute which makes you feel most deeply and vitally alive, along with which comes the inner voice which says, this is the real me. And when you have found that attitude, follow it. So again, there's this idea that we have some sort of internal compass. Joseph Campbell talks about the hero's journey. And he's like, you will hear a still small voice inside of you saying, go do that. Like, that is your adventure that you need to take. And when we don't take that adventure, we tend to suffer. And like, this is another way of saying, like, that right there is the journey of your authenticity. Like, that's what you're being called to create out of your uniqueness. Go do it. And when you don't, right, we don't experience the benefit that we get when we're being authentic. We experience the consequences of inauthenticity. So yeah, I don't know, that still small voice, like, we can trust ourselves more than sometimes we give ourselves credit for. Benji Jacobi says, it's a paradox that one can discover some measure of personal authenticity not by avoiding the outside world, only by immersing oneself in it. And yet, authenticity is achieved by resisting outside influences in one's self-realization. I feel like anytime we get close to a truth, we know it because it's a paradox. Like, it's complicated as crap, right? But yeah, like, our authenticity is a social construct. Like, it can't exist in a vacuum. So we have to immerse ourselves in the outside world, and we have to use our courage to share ourselves in a way that's not unduly influenced by that outside world that we depend on. All right, I've got one more quote, guys. It's from Brené Brown, one of my faves. And she says that authenticity is a daily practice. Choosing authenticity means cultivating the courage to be emotionally honest, to set boundaries, and to allow ourselves to be vulnerable. Exercising compassion that comes from knowing that we are all made of strength and struggle and connected to each other through a loving and resilient human spirit. Just gonna make me cry. It's gonna be so embarrassing. Nurturing the connection and the sense of belonging that can only happen when we let go of what we are supposed to be and embrace who we are. Yes, I love zits. I love zits. Any questions? Because I'm about to start throwing some questions at you guys. So I guess this is a great time to say that I like during the educational exploration, I throw a lot at you guys, and it can be a lot to handle. So what I've done is, if you are a sub, or if you're, on Patreon and you're one of our patrons, you have access to, so we have a sub-only Discord that has access to my show notes and all of the worksheets that I have. So you don't have to take notes, you don't have to remember everything. You also have access to shortened videos of this educational content, so you can always spend 10 minutes watching the video to get refreshed. Yeah, so that's available to people who are subs. Yeah, okay. So, Mike, this is where we get into a worksheet part, so feel free, if you guys are active in chat, I'll take the time to actually do these questions and answers. If you guys aren't active in chat and you're wanting to do this work, you're not a sub, I would just write down the question and come back to it later. So the first part of this authenticity actual work, where the rubber meets the road, is I would love to know how your definition of authenticity has changed from when we started talking about this. And Mr. Scott mentioned truthfulness, and oh my gosh, I'm forgetting all the other great insights. But anyways, when you guys talked about it, to now, after I've, vomited authenticity all over the place for the last 20 minutes. Yeah. So if anyone want to take a shot at that, I'll give you a little bit to do it. Otherwise, I'll move on. Do, 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 do. All right. Okay, so that would be the first question to ask yourself. The second one is, what I'm curious is, when are you guys the most authentic in your lives? I'm thinking about it for myself. I think I'm the most authentic, when I'm streaming, which I'm surprised that I'm saying that, but it's true. Yeah. Huh. I'm gonna have to think about that, because that means I'm not always this way. So that means in other areas of my life, I'm holding back this very bubbly, optimistic part of myself. Okay, so yeah, so when I'm streaming, when I'm having a really deep conversation one-on-one with somebody, I tend to be really, really authentic. So yeah. Oh, whoa. Oh, yes. Yeah, that's something, right? So there's something about the online world that, removes a lot of the social pressures, right? Those external forces we were talking about for USS. Maybe that's why I can be more myself when I stream. It's weird, right, though? Because on one hand, it's almost like the stakes are higher, but I guess we don't actually feel like they're higher. The follow-up question is, of course, when are you the least authentic? Yeah, there's definitely an anonymity or a level of removal for sure. Yeah, I think that the degree of disconnection helps. So when am I the least authentic? Whew. I think I'm probably the least authentic at parties. Yeah, at parties for sure. Any conversation about politics or religion, because I'm so afraid, I'm really afraid of rocking the boat in a bad way. So I just don't chime in. Yeah. um, I don't know if this is what's going on with USS, but like, sometimes it's hardest to be the most authentic with like the people closest to us, or like the people where the stakes are the highest, because that, because those are like the people that I have habits of people pleasing the most, right? And I think that happened for me because if they rejected me, that level of pain I would feel would be so huge that it was just safer to not risk it. So yeah, I think that that's probably really normal for a lot of us. Like, that seems to make sense to me. And, unfortunately, they're the people who can help us the most when we really need strong relationships, right? Like, oh, so it's different for you. Cool. Oh. Oh, not to repress. Okay, wait, so how are you least authentic if you're not repressing? Expression. I think I'm missing something. I'm so close to understanding SS. Yeah. And so that fear of showing the emotion comes somewhere from this idea that they're stuck with you. Oh, I have a puppy kicking my foot. Yeah, and chat's so hard. It's such a hard way to communicate this stuff. Yeah, I definitely, for our reasons may be different, but like I totally like can connect with you on the fact that like I for sure have struggled with like it's just hard. It's just harder sometimes where to be really authentically ourselves with people who are supposed to be stuck with us. Like they're supposed to be like a for better or worse, some sort of foundation on which our life is built, So the questions, if you're gonna do the work, it's when are you the most authentic? When are you the least authentic? And then this is where like we really, really get into the nitty gritty of it. And we're gonna do a tool that is the authenticity gap tool. And it's based on an ideal image tool that comes from IPEC. But essentially, again, like guys, we're responsible for creating our authentic self, right? Or for expressing it, and it's a practice. So it means that we like have awareness, like we take action, we reflect on how genuine we were in the action, and then we adjust course, moment by moment, day by day. It's this never-ending cycle of acting, reflecting, adjusting, acting, reflecting, adjusting. So let's look at our gaps. Like, let's look at those places in our lives where we aren't actually being authentic to who we are. So we can do this. And again, like, I'm probably going to go through this faster than you're going to want to do it on your own. But if like chat is super active or whatever and you're all doing the work, we'll take the time to do it. But so what you want to do is you want to take the time to list all of the qualities you can to describe your authentic self. And you want to try to identify what rings true for you, like what that still small voice says, yes, that's you authentically, versus what others expect of you or what the pressures of the outside world are telling you about yourself. So this can be very tricksy, and you being in a quiet place and like just spending some time thinking about it, or like set it as an intention and then go out in your world and let insights come to you. Like this may take some time, right? It may not happen all at once. But you just want to identify those qualities that really capture your authentic self as best as you can. So these can be like your core values, which we've talked about in a previous episode. They can be your character strengths, right? And so you can, click on the power-ups below me to access those episodes, like that information, if you don't already know what your values and your character strengths are. And these can also be just personal insights about who you are and need to be. Like, I had this, crazy spiritual awakening when after a year of getting coached, I had this, I don't normally think in images, but I had this, image come into my brain that, instantly, it felt so in alignment with that still small voice that it was oh, this is who I am in my core. This is who I am. This is me. This is my purpose. This is my meaning in life. Rocked my world. So if you have any access to anything like that, include it here for sure. So once you've done that, the next step is to rate each of them on a 10-point scale. And you want to rate them for how authentically you're currently in alignment with each of them. So 1 means you're wholly inauthentic. And a 10 means you're completely aligned or completely authentic. So you're gonna rate them all, right? So my core values of adventure, vitality, and connection, I would be adventure's a 10 because I'm streaming on Twitch. Vitality's a 4 because I'm eating junk food and not exercising, right? So okay. So you do that for all of them. And what you're gonna see is this snapshot of, oh wow, here's a whole, maybe there's 4 of them, or maybe there's 10 of them where I am so far out of alignment, right? So you just want to then list all of the qualities that you want to work on, or that you want to improve, that you want to course correct on. And then you're going to look at each of them individually, and you're going to come up with a strategy for improvement. And it can be really simple. So, I would urge you to make it simple and make small changes over time that are consistent, instead of coming up with this audacious strategy for improvement that's so big and so scary that it just doesn't get done. So, okay, let me think. So I'm working on my vitality, and I'm noticing, okay, I'm eating junk food all the time, and I'm not exercising at all. And oh, by the way, I'm only getting 5 hours of sleep a night. So I'm noticing all these ways where I am not in alignment with my core value of vitality. So then I can come up with a strategy for improvement. And there are many that I could choose, right? So maybe I just say, okay, what would be a step that isn't so much that it's overwhelming and I don't do it, and isn't so little that I'm not inspired to do it at all. I'm going to make a green smoothie once a day for the next 7 days. And so that's my strategy. Drink a green smoothie once a day for a week. And then you're going to set a deadline to start it. So I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to start it on Monday after I go shopping this weekend. And then after that, you're going to write, what's your measurement of success? So how will you judge whether or not you were successful? So for me, I would, on my calendar, check off each day I drink my green smoothie. At the end of 7 days, if I have 7 checks, boom, I did it. So this can be super simple, but over time, really effective in bringing us into alignment more and more. And if you really, really want to be a rock star, after you've done the strategies and you've laid them all out and you're getting ready to begin, you want to pause and ask yourself 4 questions. 4 questions. And then we're done. Guys. What support or resources might you need to be successful? So what support or resources might need to be successful? Well, I need health, I need vegetables in my fridge for my smoothie, right? What might get in your way? So that's question 2. What might get in your way? I played Dungeons and Dragons this weekend, and then it goes late and I can't get to the market, right? True story. And then the third question is, how can you problem solve for those, right? So maybe I go grocery shopping before I play Dungeons and Dragons, whatever. Problem solve for them. And the final question is, how would you like to be accountable? I'm telling all of you that I'm going to drink my green smoothie, right? Okay, so that was more of the, like, less part that excites me, but it's super, super beneficial to do that kind of a work. But again, guys, like I was saying this whole time, this is also something that happens in the moment. So, like, if you're not somebody who enjoys doing worksheets and sitting down and, like, really thinking through these things, just tune in to any present moment and check in with yourself. And if you're bullshitting something, just opportunity to course correct. So, yeah, however you want to implement this is great. So there's just a couple more, like, kind of fun, or what I consider fun, theoretical tidbits. So I kept asking myself, okay, what's the difference between authenticity and integrity? Because I often hear them used interchangeably, and this makes sense because they both have a connotation of wholeness or completeness, but I actually think that they're different. And I would love to know if you guys agree or disagree with me on this, but to me it seems like, okay, if authenticity is an ongoing process of self-creation that requires bravery, reflection, and adjustment, that it's this ever-changing inner reality that we consciously choose to share with other people, that there's no other me out there and there never will be, and it's this act of sharing my uniqueness. Okay, so if that's what authenticity is, integrity to me seems like it's more of an ethical quality. So instead of being, like, unique to you personally, integrity is more of a shared norm, like a shared societal norm. So questions of integrity go something like, do I go back on my word? How much did I gossip this week? Did I cheat anybody this week? Did I steal, right? Like, there's, I don't know, there's, like, maybe not stealing, I don't know, but there seems to be, like, an ethical, universal standard somewhat of integrity, whereas authenticity is completely unique to the individual. Ooh, I like that, SS. Ooh, yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, so, like, authenticity is this iterative, like, exploration, and then integrity is, like, when you know what is lastingly authentic for you, like, owning that. That's cool. I like that. Yeah. Yeah, so I mentioned too that, now, like, when you do, like, goal setting, and you've been doing this practice of being authentic, it's much more likely that your goals are going to be aligned with what you really care about and what you really want, which will boost your well-being. So that's awesome, and that's, backed by research. So woohoo! My last little bit on authenticity here is a tip, and it's like, if you really, really like this, I highly recommend Brene Brown's book, Daring Greatly. It's a great resource. She's a shame and vulnerability researcher. So has just kind of, like, that alone has, like, opened up a big discussion on authenticity. That's part of what she has to do in order to study shame and vulnerability. So it's a great resource for authenticity, and it's especially helpful for those of us who struggle with setting boundaries to protect our authenticity, and for those of us who struggle with choosing who is, like, worth or safe to share our most authentic selves with. She's got some really great stuff to say on that. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for the educational exploration bit. I hope you liked it, and I hope I just hope you got value out of it. Even just something little makes all of the work totally worth it